assessment strategy that you've used in a specific lesson? How do you know that the curriculum expectations were met?
Probably can't
how do you
hear
track student progress? How do you provide feedback to all students? That, if you got that question, really, it's telling you, just giving you step by step, tell them. But it's exactly what that assessment evaluation question you should design your answer to address those things. It's giving you a map for your answer. So, two really excellent questions. Diversity and differentiated instruction. How have you enhanced the learning process to engage different types of learners? Remember, your advantage is you're a tech teacher.
It was actually based on Brent's question. He came in and spoke to us. He was the principal, the tech principal. So I haven't done this yet, so I need to kind of, I need to kind of stage myself to be able to do something similar. So my response was that I made a video of my lesson plan. So it's kind of a flipped classroom for students that want to get ahead. I do have a student in my current practicum with a hearing difficulty. So the teacher does wear kind of like a receiver around his neck.
And you can record that and post it.
That, or I would subtitle the video.
Yep.
But then obviously I would still want to do a traditional style lesson in my classroom for those students who prefer to interact with the instructor. And then maybe do a handout as well, just so people have a quick reference to review before a test. So that would change it up for a variety of learners.
But the idea that if this was an academic teacher, they probably are not going to be talking about the projects they use, the hands-on projects. And so if anything, if you freeze on this one, just go to what you do well. And those are the activities, the hands-on, that you can pull out of the theories from that project and do a sort of a design backwards idea in terms of getting the students to now write down or record or do all sorts of things once they've done that project. They can do their own learning modules. Okay, classroom management and safety. If they don't ask you specifically about safety, build it in. That's why they have you as a qualified tech teacher rather than the wannabe tech teachers. You have to show them that safety is on your mind at all times, that you're embedding safety in everything you do. So if you get a classroom management question, it's just a general question, differentiate yourself by putting in the safety component. That's what the principals are listening for, is if that's front thing on your mind. Even if you're a CommTech teacher, bring in the safety. How are you going to address safety in your classroom? Okay, if some students start misbehaving and the class starts falling into chaos, what steps would you take to restore order? Okay. That's good. And it goes, you can see now there's going to be probably an overlap with the progressive discipline, but it is about something about your classroom management. What else could it also be about? Not just the way you handle discipline issues, but the way your classroom is organized, whether the sight lines are good in terms of making sure that you can see students and making sure that there's a procedure for using equipment, that there is, there's safety portfolios or passports for using equipment, etc. So all those kinds of things could be the items you might talk about, and how that your classroom is never going to fall into chaos because you have a particular way of doing things. And from this moment they go in and to the final moments where they leave. Give an example for when your classroom was out of hand and what you did to re-engage your students. Great one. So the fact that you have to have an example, either one, do have examples of how you brought a student back or the whole class back. Planning and teaching. What are a few key elements to building a successful lesson plan? They may even ask you to describe. Describe a lesson plan that you did that went very well, and why it went well. Progressive discipline. How would you use positive student behavior to promote progressive discipline? Do you know what progressive discipline means?
It says progressive discipline is an approach that promotes positive student behavior and enables the principal to choose the appropriate consequences to address inappropriate student behavior.
Right. So it's giving students some boundaries and some knowledge that if they go any further, that this is what's going to happen, And so they can scale back. They give some time to check their own discipline rather than you being the heavy all the time. So everyone, if you don't know that term, it is definitely something you're going to have to look up because it may be thrown out to you. What is the concept around student success? So the question might be, how will you ensure that all your students achieve success? So what are the strategies you will use? So you have to understand what student success these initiatives mean, and then what that means for you, that you're just not teaching the students in your classroom who want to be there, you're teaching everyone in your classroom. Finally, the philosophy question, as I said before, this should be the one that's probably at the beginning, just to make you feel easy. They've got your resume, they're looking at it, and they may comment that your hobbies or something like that. So let's see. Explain what you consider are some of the strengths and weaknesses of your teaching philosophy and how you might apply them effectively in the classroom. So yes, that would be the hardest part of the question, if they actually put philosophy into the question. It's the one where I suddenly freeze. How do I say my philosophy? But if you're expecting this, you think of a moment in time when you were your best in the classroom and you were most delighted with what the students were doing. Describe that time as a representative of your philosophy. So that's where you talk about, your successes. Now, in terms of your weaknesses, how would you handle that if that question came up?
You would explain how you took that weakness and learned from it and changed it?
Learned it and changed it, and how you're actively still working on it. That's exactly what you do. Great. And as student teachers, they want to see that you are in the learning mode and you take criticism. Your associate teacher said, I need to ask more questions in my classroom, or a variety of students, and I really was able to do that. In fact, I got the students totally engaged in my lesson. So talk about the fact that you can take that critique and turn it into something really positive. Okay. Oh, great. Now, so you get the idea. You can anticipate the questions. Now, they'll never have time to ask you all those. So therefore, you may have to start putting some of these together and thinking about if I just get the planning question, I get the diversity question, and I get the assessment question, how can I address some of these other things at the same time? How can I weave them in?
Yeah, I have several teacher friends, and one question that seems to be common is that they ask, how would you deal with an irate parent?
Okay, so, right. And it just so happens, go to that Building Futures site, because I think there was a presentation on how to deal with parents. So there's probably a PowerPoint on that and how the boards are wanting you to get parents more engaged.